Babes, if you are trying to eat at home more, you're like me, you're in your wellness era, and so you're trying to eat out less, make more of your meals at home, today's video is going to be super helpful for you. So if you are new around here, I'm Shantae and I share all things wellness. I share my journey with fibroids and what I'm doing to overcome that, and just overall wellness tips and strategies. Today I am going to be sharing my tips for how I have been able to eat at home more frequently and more consistently over the last few months, and some of the things that I'm doing to make it just more easy and even more enjoyable to cook at home. Now, as somebody who is really into wellness, I know that it probably would seem like I'd be someone who loves to eat at home or loves to cook, but actually I don't really like cooking that much. So I have to do certain things to make cooking at home feel more fun for me or feel more pleasant for me, and just make it easier with my schedule and my lifestyle. So my first tip for eating at home more often is really to have a plan. And when I say have a plan, I also mean planning to eat out as well. So a lot of times when we think about meal planning, we think about making this list of what we're gonna eat for each day. But in my opinion, it's also just as important to put on your meal plan what days you plan to eat out. While eating out might not be the best option for your wellness goals, it is a realistic part of most people's lifestyle, especially if you have kids, if you have a job that is demanding, and just other lifestyle or just other life obligations. Like it's important that you be realistic with yourself about what days you're more likely to eat out. For me, like my kid has sports on some days, so sometimes it's actually more realistic that that's gonna be the day of the week that we eat out. My husband and I go to lunch once a week, and so on that day, like, I always plan that that's going to be an eat out meal whenever I'm doing my planning. My next tip for more successful meal planning is to keep it simple. A lot of times where we go wrong whenever we're doing meal planning or meal prepping is that we have these grand ideas about these meals. If you're like me, you probably have lots of like these fancy, good-looking meals saved onto your Pinterest board or saved on Instagram. And while I don't want to discourage you from, having fun with the food that you're making, in reality, if you are someone who has a more hectic schedule or you don't enjoy cooking that much, you want to keep it simple. And simple doesn't have to mean that like you can't have a lot of flavor in your food. It just means that instead of doing all these extravagant meals that might take, more than 30 minutes each to prep, like maybe you want to do something simple like a protein and a veggie, and a carb, right? Or a carb source. Like just keep it really simple. Maybe you're gonna do the same carb source for every meal this week. Maybe you're going to do the same protein for several meals in a week. Just keep it simple. I like to experiment with different flavors when it comes to different seasonings. Thrive Market actually has a lot of good just different types of seasonings that don't have preservatives. You can even do some salt-free ones if you are trying to cut back on your sodium, but there are like lots of different options out there. And I will try to link that. I think I might be able to link that in the caption below, or I'll at least put my Thrive Market link below so you guys can browse their seasoning section, because they do have a lot of good seasonings so that you can keep things simple. You can add flavor without making these complex meals. And another strategy for planning planning what you're going to be eating for the week, something that I find helpful is that instead of saying, I'm going to eat at home these amount of days or these certain days, sometimes what I'll do is just say, this week I'm going to eat 10 meals at home, or I'm going to eat 8 meals at home. And I find that to be really helpful, so that instead of focusing on which days I'm going to eat out, I can just focus on, okay, I know on Monday and Tuesday, I already got something prepped for that day. So instead of focusing on specific days, you can also just simply focus on how many days a week that you want to eat out. Your schedule might get a little bit hectic or be more unpredictable. And so this kind of helps you just say, as long as I ate 8 home cooked meals, for this week, like I have met my goal, or I have improved on me eating at home more frequently. Another tip that I really try to abide by is to plan my meals on Friday of the previous week. So what I find is by doing this, it gives me time to go find any of the ingredients I need, go do my grocery order if I need to do a grocery order. It's just a lot easier when you have the whole weekend to figure out what you need for the week. And if you need to make some substitutions or some adjustments, you kind of have time to do that, throughout the entire weekend. Speaking of grocery delivery, I actually have used a couple grocery delivery services, but I highly recommend using a grocery delivery service if you have a more hectic schedule, because many of these services are going to save you time and energy. Because a lot of times I know with the Whole Foods or Amazon's Whole Foods app, you can go in and you can reorder things that you order all the time. Thrive Market is the same way. It just kind of allows you to think a little bit less about what you need to order, because if you're ordering a lot of the same things all the time, it just makes that grocery shopping a lot easier. My next tip is to remember why. So remember why you want to eat at home in the first place, or why you need to eat more of your meals at home. So for me, this is a big thing, because as someone with fibroids, I want to be more mindful of what I'm consuming. And whenever I'm eating out, I don't really have control over the food quality. And so food quality is really important to me. So I try to avoid processed seed oils. Any of my meat, I try to do free range and organic meats. I try to make sure my meat is really high quality if I'm going to consume it. A lot of my produce is organic. And so for me, that food quality is very important, because I think that it contributes to overall better health. And so when I'm eating out, I can't really control that. I can't really control that, the chicken that I'm eating is not free range, or that the salmon is not wild caught. I can't really control that when I'm eating out. So it's important for me to cook at home more, so that I'm eating more of the food that I want to eat. Another tip that I found to be super helpful, especially as someone who does not really enjoy cooking, is that I like to make it a ritual, right? I like to turn music on, I light a candle, I try to make sure my kitchen is at least halfway clean, just so that it feels good for me, so that it feels like something that I'm slowing down to do and taking time to do. And if you're someone who just struggles with slowing down, that might be one of the reasons that you don't enjoy cooking. And so I've kind of realized that by making cooking a ritual where I'm slowing down, where I'm pouring myself a mocktail, where I am just, making it a whole enjoyable thing, I'm actually able to like feel better about it and really focus in on that, and it almost becomes like a meditative experience. So another tip that I have that can help make meal prepping not so overwhelming is that I like to cook in increments. So a lot of times, and is going to look different depending on what your circumstances are, but a lot of times what I'll do is I'll prep some foods on Monday and then I'll prep some more foods again on Wednesday. And it just kind of helps me to be able to eat more fresh food, because I'm not a big fan of leftovers, but unfortunately right now that's just, with me trying to prep more, like that's just what it has to be right now. And so like it helps me to make sure that I'm having at least 2 hot meals every week. And also my husband does help out with cooking. So sometimes maybe I'll just do breakfast for a couple days, or I'll just do some lunches for a couple days, and maybe he might cook a day or two. And so it kind of helps that I do have someone else who is helping me out with the cooking. But if you are the person who is doing most of the cooking in your households, or you're by yourself and you're cooking for yourself, it might be helpful for you to actually have 2 meal prep days as opposed to 1. Or maybe you just might want to prep your breakfast for the week, or maybe just your lunch, or maybe just your dinner. Whichever meal tends to be more challenging for you. And so my last tip, and I think this might actually be one of the most important tips that I can give, is to get comfortable with doing this alone. And so this tip is really for my girls who are in a family, and maybe everyone in your household is not really committed to the same lifestyle as you are. So that might mean that sometimes the other people in your household might want to eat out, but you know that you have food in the refrigerator. You know you got food at home. So just stick to the plan and be comfortable, be okay with eating at home while everyone else is doing something different. And so one thing I like to do is just when that happens, remind myself that like, hey, I have goals, I have something that I'm trying to do. And so if I don't need to eat out, if I already have something prepped at home, or I can prep something at home, like I'm going to prepare my food at home, because at the end of the day, your goals are your own, your journey is your own. And so you have to be committed to that. Now, I got a little bonus tip for you guys. I actually have a done for you meal plan that's already ready to go. It includes your 28-day meal plan. It includes your grocery list, as well as the recipes that are super easy, super simple to follow. And I've even put in a guide in there to help you be able to find better quality food and help you read labels and understand what types of food, and help you understand what types of food to look for when you are grocery shopping. And so if you got this meal guide and you use a grocery shopping app, like super simplified, it's gonna make your meal planning super simplified. And I'm going to link that below for a little shortcut to help you out. And if you found this video super helpful, let me know below which tip resonated with you, and be sure to like and subscribe so that other women like you can find this video.